cheap one, but this was worth it for sure. I also have a 50 millimeter lens. This is a great little lens. It's called a Nifty 50. All the cameras have it. It does not zoom at all. It's a prime lens. Okay, remember that, a prime lens. Might come up today. This can get really, really shallow. The depth of field it goes down to, this one's a 1.8, but they go down to 1.2 sometimes, which is really nice. This is a really cheap lens too. It's maybe, I want to say I paid definitely less than $300. I don't know, it might have been less than 200, which is not much for a lens. Whereas like this one was more like $2,600. Okay, so lenses can get pricey. But like I said, since this is the one I use almost all the time now, this was worth it. Before I had my 24-70, I shot almost all my portraits with this one. The difference with a prime lens is you have to zoom with your feet. So if I wanted to get close, I had to move close physically to my subjects with this one. But beautiful portraits from this lens as well. And then I've got a 28-300. This one I've had for ages. I think I got it when I had my last camera. It's a really good zoom lens, so I can get pretty far distance with this one. Whereas, my 24-70 doesn't zoom that much. This one I can like get a bird on a branch very far away sort of deal. So this is a good lens if you think you're going to get into long range photography, maybe sporting events, nature, where you'd want to be far away from your subject but be able to get close. This is a good one. What else? Oh, I have a battery grip. This plugs, I think I've showed you guys some of this in class, but this plugs into the bottom of my camera and it screws on so that I can take portraits. And I've got an extra trigger button up here so I can snap. It also has the other buttons that my camera has back here as well. So it's like I've got a mirror of this and this on here. So like if I turn it sideways, I still have all those same controls. And this also holds extra batteries. The great thing about it is it holds a normal battery. So it's got like this slide out tray. And it holds like my normal second battery for me. Or there's also an adapter that it came with that holds AA batteries. So if I ever get into a bind, as long as I've got AA's, which I do because I have a flash that takes them, I would be able to just pop in those AA's and carry on, I have that adapter. Where is that? Let's see. Here we go. Here it is. Okay. So this one holds AA's. I've got it preloaded. It holds 6 of them. But then this would slide into my battery grip and I can keep taking pictures. So this is a really nice thing to have. And this all came, I had to buy the batteries themselves, but the battery grip was awesome. So this is a really nice investment if you're into taking portraits or if you're not going to use a tripod or whatever, because that's one of the problems. So the other thing I have is my strap. I have a Black Rapid strap. I don't even know if they make these anymore, but basically this is like a crossbody. So it goes like across my shoulders instead of around my neck, much more comfortable. And then this piece, it's hard to show you over the camera, but this piece slides up and down the strap. So I can leave this at my side, but then when I'm ready to take a picture, I pull it and the camera comes right up, yet still on the strap. So this is fantastic. I couldn't live without that strap or that battery grip. You may have some of these with your cameras. You can see on my bigger lenses, I have my sun shields here essentially. And this is going to make sure that your lens is protected from unwanted lens flares or hazes, which happen sometimes if the sun hits at an angle. So this is really nice. A lens hood is what this is called. And it gives you just a little extra protection. If you're inside, you don't need it. It's for when you're out in the sun. I have my speed light. This is, it plugs into the top of the camera. Mine came with like a stand and some plastic gels that snap onto it. Those are, again, it depends on what you're going to use your camera for. This is Mr. Dinosaur. Bet you were not expecting. This goes around my lens to make little kids look at me. So if I'm trying to get the little ones to, you know, little toddlers and babies and things. This is like a scrunchie almost, but it goes around my lens. So I tell them to look at Mr. Dinosaur, and at least gets them to look towards the lens. So these come in all different animals, and I think ladybug and butterfly and all kinds of things. But really super helpful to have one of these if you take pictures of little kids. Very helpful. Also, I should probably have like a rattle or something. I need to get something like that to just make a noisemaker sort of thing for babies. All right, this is a Hoodman loop. I got this one for really cheap. I wouldn't pay a lot of money for something like this. Apparently, I just looked on Amazon the other day, and they're really expensive, and I don't know why. But basically, what this does, what it is, if I'm out in the sun and I can't quite see if I got the shot or not, I take it and I put it up to my viewfinder and I look through so I can see the screen. It's basically a shield for your camera's screen, okay, to see if you got it or not. I don't use this a lot, only when it's super bright outside. But like I said, if you find one cheap, it's nice to have. I would not spend a lot of money on it. All right, let's see, what else do I have? Change my... So you can grab my whole bag now. Okay. What else do I have in here? Mask. Business cards. Oh, here we go. Here's something interesting. Bring you guys up this way. So this is a polarizing filter. We talked a little bit about these. It allows you to see through water, believe it or not, or people's glasses reflections. This will cut the glare. It just cuts through it. Now, the downside to one of these is that, unfortunately, it is the kind of thing that you have to turn, not to focus it, but to align the polarizing part of it the right way. And because it's polarized, it's like sunglasses, essentially. And so it does darken your picture a bit, and it gives it kind of a slightly orange cast. So it's something that you have to kind of be aware of. But I've got a couple of those. This one. Okay. Remember, the one thing that I do think you all need, 100%, write this on your Christmas list if you're running out of ideas. Get yourself a UV filter for whatever lenses you have. Okay. A UV filter is literally just, it filters out like weird UV rays that might give you weird reflections, colors, haze. But the most important thing it does is it protects your lens. Because if you ever get your camera knocked around and it hits that part, instead of hitting the delicate and very expensive front of your lens here, which I'm only doing this because this is my filter, right? I've got the UV filter on it, but this will break. And breaking this piece is like $30. Breaking this lens would be thousands of dollars, right? So having this is like having a shield. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Really, they should come with them, honestly, because it's so necessary to the safety of your lenses. So definitely get yourself a UV filter. And you have to look, because you'll notice like all these lenses are different sizes, and it doesn't make any sense, but like this is a 24 to 70 millimeter lens, right? But this is 85 millimeters around. Okay, so I need an 82 millimeters. I need an 82 millimeter filter. This one needs a 77 millimeter filter. So the filter that you need on the front of your lens has nothing to do with the actual millimeters of your lens focus. It's the millimeters of like the size of the lens. And you can even see my little bitty 50 millimeters just got a little tiny. I mean, that's so small, right? Compared to, so check that out. But it is worth the money to protect your lenses, because lenses are much more expensive than the filter would be. All right, let me see what else is in here. Oh, this is a good one. So some of the things, well, I always keep extra batteries, AA's, okay, for my flash or for that battery grip if I need to. One of the other things that we can do, because we talked about macro, right? Some of you guys did that macro project voluntarily. There are 3 different ways we could use to take macro. There are 3 different things you can get. You can get a macro lens, which is not cheap at all. I was just looking for kicks today, and I saw one that was $11,000. They're not all $11,000, but they are a couple $1,000s. So it's not the kind of thing that is really easy to get into, right? Except there are other things that you can buy. One is called extension tubes, and just in case you didn't hear it the first time, one of them is called extension tubes.
Yeah.
That might come up in a few minutes. Extension tubes are basically what they sound like. They're just rings that they screw onto each other. You can put a couple of them, you can stack them, and they pull your lens farther away from the camera. So normally it'd be here, extension tubes just pull it farther away, which ends up changing how and where you can focus and allows you to do some sort of macro work by pulling the focus point. Sort of hard to explain, but it's basically it gives like a faux way to get closer to things, but you still would need to be right up on your subject. The other thing that you could do is get something like this. These are filters, okay? These are like magnifying filters, and these also stack. So what I mean by that is they screw onto each other, and these specific ones, because you have to pick the size, they only fit on my Nifty 50. Okay, so I couldn't use these on any of my other lenses, but this one is a 4, like a +4 magnifier. This I think is the +10. Yeah, this one is really, I don't know if you guys can see, it's really bowed, like it comes out on an angle. It's like a fisheye, and this kind of thing is, ooh, look at that, that's pretty cool. So this is like a +10 magnifier. So I could stack all of these and you screw them into each other, and you can get some pretty cool close-up shots even if your lens is not a close-up lens. So it's, a really cool thing to have. It's nice because it comes in a little wallet. There's the different sizes. It's +1, +2, +4, +10. Like I said, you could stack them. This little wallet is so easy to carry. I got this for Christmas a couple years back, and it's helped me. Like I said, I took a picture of my friend's engagement ring. I otherwise would not have gotten the really super cool close-up sort of look that I was able to get, but I was able to kind of accomplish that with this specific set of filters, so it doesn't take up much room in my bag. The bag itself, like I said, I'll show you, just a cool backpack. It's got like a zipper pouch here. I do normally have my lens reflector in there. I've got my trigger, my camera release if I'm trying to take a remote picture. Looks like I've got some memory cards in here, which should actually be taken care of in a better way. Normally I put my memory cards in I have like a little stainless steel wallet sort of thing for them, but any kind of thing you can get to protect them is fine. But these are helpful. And then it's got this second part where I can put other things here, some extra dividers that this one has that stick to everything. It's got like a mesh pocket. It's got some zipper pockets. I think I showed you guys everything in here. Yep. And then this, these up so nothing falls out. The inside of this bag looks like this. And that's because I've set it up like that. So it's got divider parts. I know how I like everything to fit in here, and it fits exactly what I have. And realistically, this is not all of my gear, but realistically, this is the stuff I use. I've found there's a lot of gimmicky things out there, or a lot of, or like things like if I had extension tubes, that's awesome. There's no need for me to ever bring them on a job. And that's why I have this bag is for jobs, right? When I go out and actually work with clients. So I wouldn't bring extension tubes there. I wouldn't bring my, I've got another one of those straps, but it's got like anti-theft wire in it for when I travel internationally. I wouldn't bring that, so I have another bin of supplies. They're just things I don't use as much. What I should have in here that I don't right now is I should have like a little chamois cloth. They've got those little ones like for eyeglasses. That's always a good idea. Also a really good idea to keep maybe like a clean, dry washcloth, just in case you're ever in a situation where your equipment gets a little wet when you're out and about, splashed by something, it starts to rain. It's nice. I usually do have a dry washcloth in here, just because it's like a mini towel, right? And I could dry off my equipment quickly. Trying to think what else I would carry. And there's also like lens cleaning kits. You never want to clean your own lens or your own camera sensor. I would always take them somewhere and get it done professionally because the parts are so delicate. And if you get dust anywhere, it's a nightmare and it's hard to not get dust anywhere. But they sell little blowers. It looks like the most famous one looks like a little rocket ship, or little brushes that you can kind of use to dust off the exterior parts. That's a good idea. So hopefully this helps a little bit. I love that these dividers are all Velcroed in, so I can keep things organized. I can size everything to exactly how I want my own gear, to the sizes of my lenses, to the sizes of my, camera body and my flash. I can put it all the way I want to. So hopefully that's a little bit of a help. Like I said, I like this bag. It's just really, really useful. It's one of the nicer ones I've seen. They also have bags out there that look like purses, that they have bags that fit inside of other bags. So if you already have a backpack or like a carry-on bag that you want to just put your camera gear in, there are things you can buy like that. There are some that are way more rugged or big than mine. So it depends on what you like. But for what I do for taking portraits of people is mostly my job. This works really, really well. So hopefully that helps. Does anyone have any, I know I threw all of that at you rapid fire. Does anyone have any questions or if you ever are thinking about equipment and you're like, am I going to use this? Is this the right thing? Go ahead and just drop me a line. I don't mind. I'll help you guys out. I'm happy to do it. Taking care of your equipment's important. You want to make sure that you've got your stuff nice and working, right? Because it's not cheap. It's definitely an investment when you go into higher level photography like this. And you want to make sure your investment, stays, right? So, yeah. So hopefully that helps. If any of you think of anything. I also added recently a eye cup. That's taller than my normal eye cup, which would fall off all the time anyway, because I was trying to avoid fogging up my lens when I had mask on taking pictures of people. Doesn't really work, but it's a nice eye cup. Do I have battery packs? Yes. So normally, because my battery grip, I got caught under the leg of my chair. Hang on a second. My battery grip has the ability to hold an extra battery. So there's a second one in here. So I pretty much have two batteries in my camera at all times, because I almost always have these attached. I rarely just use this piece. So once I plug this in, it gives me a second battery, and it pulls from the battery grip before it pulls from the battery that's in the camera. So it does, help with the batteries. Oh, that's a good question. I'm sure that I actually don't know the official answer to that one, Olivia. I'll be honest with you. I take apart all of my equipment when I'm moving around. And the reason I do it is because to me, it just feels more secure. I'm always afraid. Like I've had friends when they were using their cameras in all fairness, but who have dropped their cameras and one of them cracked like at the base of where the camera and the lens met. So that always kind of traumatized me. I always just would prefer to take it apart. Now, here's the thing. If you had a bag that has those dividers and like a cushion, you could shape it so that it's like a T shape and keep your lens on, and then it would be secure in there. And really, I probably should just do that and save myself the trouble of, hooking it up every time, because there's also wear and tear there. So I think yes, you can keep the lens on as long as you are properly like securing it when you're transporting it. Like when you're storing it, if it's in a bag or a case or whatever, just make sure that it's supported and it's never going to be resting too much on the lens or putting pressure in the wrong spots. And then that should be fine. I like to keep it on because it minimizes the time the camera is open. Well, that's very true, Christy. Yeah, actually, that is very true. Because taking the lenses on and off does expose both the sensor area and then the back of the lens. So really, I think I always assume I'm going to change my lenses a lot more, and I never do. I always use my 24-70 now. I feel like the other two get neglected, but definitely always important also to protect, like when I transfer my lenses, I always have, before I take them apart, before I take my camera and my lens apart, I always have their caps waiting. So I have the camera body cap always at the ready so I could put it on as soon as possible. And then the back end cap for the lens itself, the piece that covers it, those are waiting. I'm never like holding my lens and digging around for it because that's also, like Christy said, it's the least amount of time that dust can get in. And those are the most sensitive areas is the back here and this part here. So you always want to make sure that you got that. Yeah, maybe I'll reorganize my bag tonight while you guys are taking the test. Anything else? Oh, I have on this lens. So this is the 28 to 300. And the thing is, this lens is short, but it is heavy. This thing is like a, dense dying star. It's so heavy. And so if I have my camera hanging down at my side, I usually always have my hand on it. Like I'm always holding it. I never just let it swing off the strap, but it's still down at my side. This lens is so heavy, it will extend itself, and it has a lock on it to stop it from doing that. But like if it shakes, you see what happens is it extends. And so, that's not good. That's not healthy for it. I shouldn't have even done that. But I bought this thing called a lens band, and I bought a black one, so it's hard to see, but it essentially is one of those Livestrong bracelets, those like rubbery bracelets, and you put it on and you kind of grip it in a way that it holds your lens steady so that it doesn't fall away. But usually I just try and put the lock on so that it doesn't, do that. But then the problem is every time I pull it up to take a picture, I have to unlock it. So it's one of those things. I don't use that lens as much, so not as much of a problem. Oh, and I think I showed you guys that little Luma cube that I got for my birthday, that little LED cube for light. It's okay so far. It's hard to use for portraits. I was hoping that I could use it for portraits. I think Phil actually has a much better sort of thing. His is more of a big panel of LEDs, and I forget who makes it. I don't know if Phil's with us right now. But I think that's a little easier to look at. The Luma Cube I have is tiny, and so it gets so bright that people can't look at my camera, even in broad daylight. If I'm trying to use it as a fill flash or fill light, it's just too bright to be on my camera. I think if I maybe moved it onto a tripod or something, it'd be okay. But having that extra light helps. Also, like as a photographer for what I do, because I'm taking pictures of people and my studio is basically like local parks and things like that, I use a radio flyer wagon, a big one with like off-roading wheels. And I I usually have a couple stools. I have a blanket that's really good and neutral looking. I've got a gray one. I've got oh, no worries, Phil. Don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it. I was just wondering if you remembered the brand or anything about it, but it's not a problem. Take your test. This radio flyer wagon, and it helps me because I'm carrying at least one stool, sometimes two, or if I've got kids, I'll bring a little chair and then a stool for the parents. I found really great neutral blankets at like Home Goods. I've got a gray one and I've got like a taupe colored one. Nothing with patterns. You want to just keep it, but people don't always want to sit on the grass. They don't, or if the grass is wet or muddy, or it's nice to have the blanket for them. And neutral colors are just easiest. Then I've got, I usually put my reflector in the wagon, and then anything else I need to bring with me, I always just throw in the wagon. And then my clients can also put their stuff in. So if they've got jackets or whatever, okay, just throw it all in the wagon. So that's been really helpful. And I'm trying to think of the other tips I have. And obviously, you guys, is like me who's like portrait. I rarely ever use my tripod, Christy. I'll have to be honest. It's just for what I do, it's not really a thing for me. Because I'm outside, I'm following people around. We're moving pretty quick. I'm, moving all around. So for me, I rarely use my tripod unless I'm doing like a timed shot that I have to be in. That's usually the only time that I use a tripod. Or if I'm doing, taking pictures of slow motion, like slower objects or steady objects, or if I need the same shot, then I'll use a tripod. But specifically for my type of like lifestyle photography that I do for work, I rarely use a tripod. I did see a really cool way that you could make like a stability sort of thing with a string and a washer that I should show you guys. I'll put the video up maybe. But yeah, I think my only other suggestion is If you're ever working with kit, it's nice to have. Yeah, the string method is pretty cool. It's like you take basically like a whatever screw would fit the bottom of your, or would that be like a bolt or something that would fit the bottom of your camera? So like whatever the tripod, I don't know off the top of my head, but whatever that size is, you get one of those. You wrap some string. You figure out exactly how tall you are, and you wrap a big ring washer to the end of it. Then you step on that washer, and when you pull the camera tight, it just gives you that extra amount of tension that holds your camera straight. So if you ever needed one, like on the go, a sort of way to just steady your camera a little bit, that works. But no, what I was gonna say is, I work a lot with kids, and